Hey, welcome to MMA Hot Lips. We have a great guest today. It's Jake Cooperman. He is a commentator and UFC host of Gloves Up Show. Hey, Jake, how are you today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on again. It's quite the card that we had that we were able to discuss today. I'm glad that this was the one where I was like, because I want to get on the show. The first time I was on, I had such a fun time. And so
I know,
I was
me
like, I
too.
have to get on. And what a better show to do it than, I guess, can we call this a UFC 308 post cap?
Yep, that's what it is. I'll tell you, it's worthy of talking about because it was an amazing card. There were a lot of fights to talk about, but I think let's just talk about like the main event, the co-main event, and then there's one prelim that I really want to talk about later on because it was absolutely worthy of talking about. So we can just dig in, and I want to get your thoughts on the fight, and I can just kind of give you some of my take on the fight, what I thought of the Topuria Max Holloway fight. So let's get into my opinion on it and yours as well. I want to hear what you have to say, but what a fight. I mean, what a fight. I had predicted that Topuria was going to win, but I thought it was going to be a little bit different than what I thought it was going to be. What was your thoughts on that? I'll just get yours first, your first take.
A guy like Taporia, I feel like historically, now I was going to do a video on this. He's tough to face off with, not because he's this guy that I think has this unbeatable kind of aura to him. I don't necessarily think he looked here like someone can't come along and one day take the belt off of him, because Max Holloway was fighting a fantastic fight. He was using those oblique kicks, front kicks. He was getting his boxing going. I mean, I think Max Holloway fought about as perfect of a fight as you can fight. It was a Max Holloway type fight, right? Like, he starts off slow. You see him as he starts to get more confident, feels his way into the fight. He lets his hands go. And he
Hmm.
looked really, really good, because I was watching it again as I was going through LAX. And I was like, man, Max Holloway might win this. He
I
might
was
have
thinking, yeah.
right. Because he was looking so good. He was letting his hands go. And
Hmm.
you see it, it's kind of, and it was the same thing almost in the Volk fight, though it was a little bit quicker there, where Taporia is very happy to kind of lay in wait, right? Like, if it's a game of blackjack, his power is kind of
Yes.
getting to that 21. He's able to, even if we get to 19, he's able to put that next card down, and that's his power, right? He's so happy and willing to bank on the fact that he's going to be able to find that knockout shot. And you saw that there, right? He was
Yeah.
getting combinations, he was putting them together, but Holloway was winning a lot of those exchanges. It didn't matter to Taporia. He never gets discouraged, no matter how much stuff you throw at him. And he lays in wait until he finds that big shot. For him, I think it was a cross, though. Maybe we could, if we see it on the, if we have it here for visual reference, he tags Holloway finally with a big shot. And then that's when we see him start to swarm. And then that's when his fantastic finishing instinct comes in. I thought it was, it was a Max Holloway fight, and it was an Ilia Topuria fight. That's what I think kind of makes this fight so special. Both men performed to the best of their abilities with the skill sets that they have.
I totally agree with you. I was watching the fight thinking, okay, Max is strong. I mean, he came in strong. He was no slouch in this fight. He was always the Max we expected. But Topuria, the magic with Topuria is that he has such incredible boxing skills, and he has such patience. The patience that he displayed in this fight was crazy. He was completely stalking Max. He was
Yeah.
reading Max. He was waiting to figure out, okay, how is Max going to react to this hit? How is he going to move on this hit? Now, Max did an excellent job of trying to keep the distance. I think he
Yep.
was trying to keep the distance in most instances. He's taller, and it was harder for Ilia to get in, but I don't think Ilia really cared in the first round. He was just reading him. He was finding out where his soft spots were, which aren't many, but he was finding out the pattern. And this is my opinion anyway. So, and I thought it was really interesting. I watched Ilia do, oh gosh, what are they called? Hand traps, where he's pulling Max's arm down and then coming in with that right. I mean, he probably did that throughout the whole fight. It was crazy how he would just take his arm down, the hand trap, and then just come in with that hard right and just, uh, I mean, the hits Max can take are incredible, and Ilia as well. They were both just going back and forth, but Ilia got his stride about in the second round, and he knew he had his number. He knew how he was going to take him out, and he was so patient. I just felt like this was a game of cat and mouse, so to speak. He was just playing him, but Max did an excellent job. Nothing to take away from Max Holloway. Just he got caught, and that's the name of the game. You get caught, and there it is. Yep, he
And
just comes
listen,
in.
he said as much in the post fight, right? Like he felt great, he looked great. And
Hmm.
Ilia, to your point, I mean, it's going to be tough when you're fighting a longer and taller guy that has that range that Max Holloway does when he's in the boxing pocket.
Yes,
You see there those oblique kicks again. It's another thing that a lot of taller guys will do.
crazy.
And
Yeah.
then finally, Ilia just finds it's the head movement. It's coming in. That's another really good tool that he uses to get inside on guys. Yeah, it's a cross. So he clips him there, and then
Hmm.
that's the Ilia Topuria kind of like finishing sequence that we see in every fight, where it's body shots against the cage, and then the big overhand or whatever shot. This one was a left hook that he finds to be able to finish the job.
I
There it
know,
is.
and he
Boom.
seemed like he was almost off balance when he came in and hit him, but because they were going back and forth, and it just seems like he was almost off balance, and then he just came in with that left and just stunned him, and then of course the hammer fist, and then it was over. But never before seen Max Holloway knocked out, which that was historical in itself. So that was just an awesome fight. Awesome fight. I wanted both to win. Of course, one has to. So it is what it is. And Max will come back stronger, and
Yeah,
I'd love to see him fight again. Actually,
it's tough because I like. It's not that I don't like Ilia Topuria, but I'm a big Max fan. That entire card overall was very sad for me because I'm a big Robert Whittaker fan. I'm a
yeah,
big
I
Max Holloway
know.
fan. We'll get into the Whittaker fight in a bit here, but yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, seeing someone do that to Max, I thought was very impressive. But I want to get your opinion on this, Katie, because I don't. This might get me a little bit of flack online, but what have I ever said online that hasn't gotten me flack? I don't think that Ilia Topuria is necessarily unbeatable. I don't think that's something you could say anymore because, of course, you could lay weight, you can have your the ace up your sleeve, right? He
Hmm.
has power that I don't think a lot of other guys have at 145. You could
Yeah.
have that ace in your sleeve, but I think there will be a guy that comes along that's able to eat the shots better than Max did. That's not going to let Ilia kind of get into his rhythm and find his groove in the fight. There's going to be a guy I think that's going to take it to Ilia a little bit more. I don't necessarily. Maybe Marab, yeah, that's a guy. I mean, listen, there's plenty of guys in that division that can give, I think, Ilia a lot of problems. I don't think while the performance was very impressive, I don't think he's going to be necessarily the phenom that everyone else says he is.
Well, I'd have to agree with you. Marab would give him a little bit of pain. That would be a really interesting fight. I heard in the I thought was interesting too. Max post fight interview. He said he feel more comfortable at 155. He looked really thin at 145. He's so tall. I mean, we're used to seeing Max really thin, but I'd like to see Max at 155, and that's a very good division for him. So it'll be interesting to see what happens next. I'm sure he'll take some time off and reflect and then come back stronger. So I'm anxious to see him again. He's always an exciting fighter. So it is what it is. Taporia won, and I'm happy for him. And I'm anxious to see both of them fight again. They're both great fighters. So it
Yeah.
was well worth it. Great main card.
Oh yeah, big time.
Yeah. So let's talk about the co-main. Oh my gosh, everybody loves Robert Whittaker. He's a veteran, right? Um, we've seen him fight for years and years. He's a strong fighter. And then uh, Chimaev comes in, and he's very humble. He seems very humble in the interviews that I've seen, and just very sure of himself. And he comes in there and just absolutely destroys Robert. And when I was watching that fight, I know you watched it too, right? Um, when I was watching that fight, he quickly came on top of him. He just shot in a double leg shoot, and he took him down and just rode him all the way through. And I thought he was out a few times. I thought Robert was going to be done within the first minute, with the rear naked chokes, because there were so many attempts in doing that, as you can see in the screen, and so many attempts. And then when he had him behind just over the chin, and then all of a sudden Robert like taps, I was going, what is going on?
Yeah.
Why is he tapping? What's going on? I had no idea. I thought maybe it was a knee, or I just don't know. It might have been a knee. It
Yeah.
could have been. I couldn't
thought
tell.
it was,
Nobody could tell. I think everybody's sitting there going, "What the hell?"
yeah,
What
I thought it was a
happened?
panic attack. I think we were talking about this yesterday. I thought it was a
That's what
panic
I
tap.
thought.
I was
Yeah.
watching with a buddy of mine that of course, I'm trying to get into the cult of MMA, and he
Yeah.
was like, "Are guys supposed to tap that early?" And I was like, "I don't think so, pal. That's not something
No.
that usually. I mean, especially not a guy in Robert Whittaker. But obviously, and I'm sure this is where you're going with this, right?
Mm.
He dislocates his jaw, or I think he broke his chin bone and pushed his
Well, I
teeth
think,
back.
yeah, I think he had loose teeth. I think there was an interview where he said he already had loose teeth from his prior fights. And so I don't know if it was healed enough, and maybe he had a slight crack in his chin. And then when he had his arm around his chin, just enough pressure, a lot of pressure, I'm sure, just busted it up and brought his teeth back into his mouth. So
It's I mean,
that's
it's one of those things. I know
whew,
you're taking Brazilian Jiu Jitsu now, Katie. I don't know if they've or if you guys have
I
went
know.
over it yet, but the cranks,
Yes.
like a lot of people think it has to be under the neck. Yeah, if you get a guy that's strong as and by the way, never have I seen someone that has done or has had that much strength with no readjustment on the grip. I mean, you talk about like instantaneously locking it
I
in
know.
and having it be that tight that it breaks someone's shin bone
It
is
was incredible.
insane.
I
But
was I was shocked,
yeah,
just sitting there with my mouth open, and it was probably one of the most surprising fights that I've seen ever. Just no one knew what was going on at first.
okay,
Yeah,
so
I don't think
yeah,
there
we're
was a
getting
chin broken. Yeah,
okay.
I
Yeah,
think
there's a bunch
his
of different
teeth were
stuff
just
flying
pushed
around
back.
about it. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. It
even
was
so though.
brutal. No matter what, it was brutal, and it hurt like heck. So he needed to get out of there. So yeah, I'd like to see him come back. It was a bit heartbreaking for me to watch Robert Whittaker tap out so early, but it was a great fight. Well worth it too. So Chimaev, I think he's a great, humble fighter. I think we're going to see a lot of him. A lot.
Well,
He's very, very confident.
I'm curious to get your perspective on this, Katie, because
What's
I
that?
think there's a lot of people talking about DDP versus Khamzat right now for the title
Mm.
shot, or excuse me, Sean Strickland versus
Sean
DDP,
Strickland.
or
Yeah,
yeah, Khamzat versus DDP for the title. A lot of people seem to think that Sean Strickland has kind of been grandfathered in because they had a very close first fight.
exactly.
Where do you put? Do you want to see? Obviously, the fight that I want to see personally is Khamzat at this point. I think Sean Strickland is a fun fighter to watch, but I'd much rather see how those two get after it. I wanted to see what
Mhm.
your perspective is because I know there's kind of two different types of MMA fans. Ones that kind of fall in the realm of it's this weird thing where it's like if someone has a close fight with a champion, we automatically have to give them a rematch, right? Because we have to
Right.
see. But where do you kind of fall on that?
I think, I think both of them deserve that. I think both deserve to fight him. I think Sean is really kind of due to fight him. I've never really seen Sean on the ground though. It might be another Sean on the ground.
And yeah.
I don't know. I think they both deserve. Yeah, I think Sean has a
Oh, Sean's got a
contract signed.
contract. Okay. All
Yeah,
right. So then we might be seeing that matchup. Honestly, I mean, I could
who
see.
knows?
Yeah, it makes both. I think there's a case that can be made for both fights. Let's put it like
Yeah.
that. Like
Yep.
if they gave Kamzat the title shot after that, because he made Robert Whittaker a guy that's, as you said, Katie, a veteran, guy that's like been in there with the best of the best, who I thought could have had a good chance at winning that second. Was it the second Israel Adesanya fight? Yeah,
Hmm.
had a really good case for winning that fight. He made him look really, really just I don't even know how to describe it. He made him look like he'd never been in an octagon before. I think that was
Yep.
probably, besides the GM3 performance, the Gerald Meerschaert performance, that was Khamzat's
Hmm.
most dominant performance in the cage.
He's just dominant. I mean, he's what now, 14-0? So is it
Yeah,
13 or 14-0?
I think 14-0.
Yeah, I mean, he's unstoppable at this point. So I just don't know. Whatever Dana wants, Dana wants, Dana gets, right? And whatever is
Yeah,
going to make the most exciting fight overall,
I
that's
know they'll
what
figure it
Dana,
out over there. They'll figure
I'm
this out.
sure they will. They got it wrapped up pretty well. Um, so let's move on to a really amazing fight. I have to mention this one before you go. The prelim fight
Ooh,
between Rebecki and Orval. Orba?
Orolbai. I do.
Orolbai.
To
Thank
your
you.
credit, Katie, those are two very difficult names to
I
pronounce.
had to say them over and over again.
You could just say Genghis Khan and I don't know who does Rebecki look like. I'm not sure.
Genghis Khan.
Yeah,
Rebecki, I don't know about Rebecki, but Orolbai wasn't recognizable after that fight. It was
yeah,
crazy. I've never seen an orbital injury like
yeah.
that, like I saw during that fight. It was a horror show. You know, when you watch those really scary movies and you really don't want to watch it, but it's so intriguing that you have to? That was this fight. It
It's
was
like a car
so
crash.
blood. It was so bad and so good at the same time. That I was
Yeah.
just waiting for it to just burst all
Oof.
over, and just the injury looked so severe, and he was fighting,
Yeah.
and he kept coming back time and time again. We're talking about Orolbai. He was unbelievable warrior. I could not believe it. He couldn't see out of that eye. There's
Yeah.
no way he could have seen out that eye.
And how about, and maybe we could find the clip where he gets dropped. I believe it was round 2 or 3,
Yes.
and no, it was
And you
round
think
3.
it's
Yeah.
well, you think it's over,
Yeah, you
right?
think it's over, and then he builds his way back up. He creates a base, and he's able to kind of wrestle back to his feet. Gets taken down like 2 or 3 more times, and still manages to find a way to finish the fight on his feet. I mean, that's insane. I've never.
How
I
he
mean,
was, yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say. I mean, the commentator said it best. It's like that point. It's just that's something I feel like you can't really teach. He was kind of going off of autopilot, and that's just raw desire right there. You see, Rebecki
Sure
even's
will.
looking like a horror movie. To your
It
point,
was sure will, and it really was a horror movie. It was so bloody and so dramatic. I had a hard time looking, but
yeah.
not looking, and yeah, that was such a notable fight, such warrior. That's called warrior fight. That was a gladiator moment, a gladiator
Oh
moment.
yeah.
They should be super proud of themselves. I mean, they win the MMA Hot Lips most fantastic fight of the night, as far as prelims anyway. It was
Fantastic
just,
fight of the night.
I,
FFON.
I think exactly right. So they get the MMA Hot Lips Award for that. That was awesome. I think they both won in different
Oh
ways.
yeah.
Yeah. So I definitely wanted to talk about that fight because that was just incredible. It really set up for a night of really good fights. Right. So I'm going to wrap it up today. Jake, it was a pleasure to see you. We'll have to do this again. It was fun yakking with you about this. After the John Jones fight, maybe we can chat about how that went. Um, Thank you for being here. If you want to check out Jake's YouTube channel, it is a Gloves Up show on YouTube, and he does a great job. So check him out. I'll have all of his links below too, so you can check out his podcast show as well. Thanks again for being here. If you liked this video, please give me a thumbs up, or better yet, subscribe and hit the notification button so you can see all the videos I launch in the future. Thanks for being here. MMA Hot Lips out. Thanks, Jake.